So now moving on to the Infrastructure, Transport and Environment Committee items. Item 14 we'll come back to once the Mayor has arrived. Item 15, an accessible city, Kilmore Street, Colombo to Durham and Town Hall. Pauline, would you like to introduce this item, please?
So this is just supporting the staff recommendation to get the work done that needs to be done outside the town hall, basically, but it runs between Kilmore and Durham section of, Colombo and Durham Street section of Kilmore Street. And we're wanting this work to be done, obviously, in time for the town hall reopening. So hopefully have it completed by July 2018. There has been consulted on, and the main changes were there was criticism of the shared path on the south side of Kilmore. That's now been removed. That'll be pedestrian only. Of course, loss of parking came up, and staff have managed to find additional spaces on Durham Street, I think. And of course, mobility parking came up. We had a deputation at the parking subcommittee meeting last week as well. There is one mobility park directly outside the town hall, and there's planned to be at least two on the intersection, near the intersection of Colombo and Kilmore, one on each side. The parking subcommittee requested staff look at putting two on each side there, one on the east and one on the west, and that's within a 100-metre walk of the town hall. And we've also asked staff to look at the possibility of putting another mobility park on the north side of Kilmore opposite the town hall. That may not be possible, but we're just having a look at that. So those were the main concerns that have been addressed by staff, and the committee supported this project.
Thank you, Pauline. So I've got questions indicated from Dion, Glenn and Yanni. Dion.
The issue on Colombo Street, how it goes down and it gets very narrow at the Colombo Street entrance near the town hall for cyclists. Has that, it was an issue that we raised when we spoke about it. Has that been fixed?
No, so that's not part of this project. So that will be designed as part of the connection through to the major cycle routes when that comes through.
Yeah, it's not an MCR.
But as part of this work, we're not doing that intersection at all?
No, the greyed out part is not part of this project.
Oh, shit, I thought it was. It's going to be an interesting one.
Okay, so not part of this project. Glenn.
Thank you. Notwithstanding the council's priority over promoting cycling and obviously building cycleways, how much consideration was given at both staff and committee level over the loss of the parking that used to be in the Crown Plaza building? So obviously that was a major source of parking for events at the town hall. Could I have a response on that?
I guess we're still working through that solution for parking in the north of the city. So with the new facilities also building up there, so they'll be taken into account as part of that. And there is potential for maybe some parking on the north side of Kilmore as well, depending on what happens in that sort of development. But yeah, so generally we'll look at that area as part of the other facilities in this parking solution for the north.
Do you know how many parks we did have in the Crown Plaza?
No, not off the top.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Yanni and then Tim.
Thank you. I just wanted to check, at the community board asked if we could get written confirmation from the emergency services over their feedback on the design. Have we got that?
We've met with emergency services on this. They're happy with this design. We haven't actually got it in writing back from them yet. I've written an email to them but haven't had a response that would confirm that they're happy, but I can do that.
Right. I just, the other thing that we'd asked for, I think, at the community board was a copy of the traffic signals plan, which I haven't seen.
For the Colombo Kilmore intersection?
Yeah, well, for the intersections in terms of traffic signals. This comes out of the concern that if you look at Durham Street, High Street, if you look at a number of Bridge of Remembrance, we've seen a huge proliferation of traffic signal poles and paraphernalia.
Right.
And it was quite concerning in terms of legibility of reading that use of intersections. like we've got arrows now in lanes where people can't turn, saying that you can turn on the pole when the arrow on the ground is going straight ahead. Things like that just seem really bizarre to me. And so at the community board, there was discussion around it would be really good to actually see what the signals plan was.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I'm not sure if that's been provided.
And the final question is, well, there's two, but one is the heavy vehicle movements. A number of submitters have raised concerns, and again, we haven't seen submissions. I don't think councillors haven't been circulated the submissions. Right.
The submissions would have been part of the report that went to the IT committee.
But not to us who are making the decision. Okay. But the heavy vehicle concern, turning the way in which I think a number of the submitters have said that they're concerned that the traffic, if there's a major event on at the town hall, will start queuing into the transport lane and over the cycleway. So can you just help me kind of understand at a high level how we've modelled the high traffic generation that will occur on the street space, and in particular the conflict between heavy vehicles, buses and trucks, and pedestrians, cyclists and private automobiles?
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure, sorry.
The modelling would have taken that into account, and I know that the build-outs that are on the southern side of Kilmore Street, near the Colombo Street intersection, were taking account of the vehicle movements that could happen there and the fact that they could be queuing to come onto the loading zone. And so that's why the build-outs were put there, to give protection to the cyclists so that vehicles wouldn't be queuing up to go onto the loading area.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I get, yeah, it just, it was interesting going, if you go to the KFC in Eastgate, and what you see is people, it gets so busy, people queue back into the traffic, into the lane, so traffic can't actually move anymore because you can't access it because there's, 6 cars or something. So if we've got major events on at the town hall and people are coming in to drop people off, and taxis are coming in, it really worries me that we haven't actually got enough space, particularly with the Peterborough development going across the road, for vehicles to go through here. But you don't have any concerns?
No, I mean, I guess that was the intention of building the drop-off area anyway, to get those, to get the vehicles that we can off the road. Otherwise, they would be parking up on the road and dropping people off. So by building that, the slipway effectively, that creates the space for people to drop off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Tim.
Thank you. I guess, like traffic management and traffic design is a perfect science except for human beings. So we all know that. So I've done a few myself as in management plans, but humans are a different breed altogether. With regards to the plan on page 251, was the comment that the part of Colombo Street is not part of this design? So the two, but they are interlinked, so one would presume that you are talking to the other group that are doing that.
Yes.
So kind of leading on from what's been said already, have there been discussions with the future operator of the town hall with regards to loading access to the back of the James Hay Theatre? It has always been an issue at the town hall end, but to get heavy vehicles onto or into that area, I'm just wondering what the feedback has been, because that does affect that corner in total.
We've been discussing this with the project manager for the town hall refurbishment project about that access. So there's still a loading zone at the back there. It comes off Colombo Street, which is sufficient for one large vehicle to get down. So that's no different than it was previously, but we've been having that discussion with them.
Okay,
and just to clarify that we have been speaking with Otakaro about the design for Colombo Street and the design for this intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jamie.
Thanks. Just around the road width, so looking at page 250, one example, I guess, of the accessible city that I don't think works that well, and it's probably no surprise to anyone, is Senasif Street, just purely because it's too narrow. I see that currently the road widths are 3.8 metres to 4 metres. Is that on the current layout, and I see that this is proposing going to 3.25. Can you just help give me a feel of how that compares to, say, Senasov Street?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's necessary, but similar to what's out here on Cambridge Terrace, so there's probably the width through there.
Okay.
3.25's also...
so that's still quite
yes,
sort of
generally
narrow,
wider the lanes around the avenues as well. I know they sort of drop down between 3.2 to 3 in places. So it's really the width that's that we use as a minimum for where you've got larger vehicles.
because there will be obviously a lot of buses and this sort of thing going down, yeah? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't envisage that there will be the same sort of problems around the road width with this treatment as there was in Senasov?
The difference is that on Senasov Street you haven't got adjacent cycle lanes, each side of the 3.25 metre wide lanes. And so this does has it, so that because they're not separated, they're on road cycle lanes.
And you've also got car parking down Senasov Street where people can't open the doors and
Yes.
hear it's bus stops and the like. Okay, no, thank you for that.
Thank you. Mike?
Do you know what the width of the traffic lanes are on Kilmore Street east of this proposal? Because that's obviously all been done up recently. Is that 3.25 as well?
Yeah, so when that was done as part of, I think it was done as part of the skirt works, but the design, this design incorporates or works into that design.
So 3.25.
Yeah,
and there's no issues.
No.
Yeah.
And both of them are future-proof for potential future changes.
Thank you. So Pauline, you're happy to move this? Yes. And Mike, you're happy to second? All those in favour? Yep, sure. It'd be good if people indicate that they want to debate before we move straight into passing resolutions. So Yanni, you want to debate this, Glenn? Yep, so Yanni, Glenn, Aaron, Yanni.
Okay, it'd be good if you could just ask if we did want to debate.
Thank you.
Like, you know, I understand the need to get the street done up. I'm just really concerned. You know, to me, this is just like the inaccessible city all over again. The road, for the purpose of what it's going to be used, which is thousands of vehicle movements a week. Sometimes, I guess, if we've got big events on at the town hall, we've got a massive development proposed right across the road, which will have no doubt huge traffic generation, and I'm not quite sure where that's got to. I cannot understand why we would put cycleways through this part on the road. We've just heard the advice that the road's narrow, but the cycleways are attached and not separated, so that if it gets too narrow, then people can go into the cycleways. That really concerns me. We've just spent, the government have spent a lot of money putting wider paths through Victoria Square. It just seems to me that this is a case of we're trying to do too much and have too many different types of activities on a street that is going to be one of the busiest streets in the city, because actually Gloucester Street's now going to be closed for the convention centre. Armour Street's got limitations with the tram, and this street really is the destination street in terms of getting in from the east into places like the town hall and other parts of the west of Colombo. So I just am really concerned about this design. You've heard that I've had a number of questions where we haven't actually had the information through. But fundamentally, I think we do need to start thinking about the huge impact of heavy vehicles and traffic coming into town to help events happen, buses, etc., and how that's going to interact. And, I'm just really concerned that this design, as I said, it's trying to do too much within a limited road corridor and is not going to serve the function for this area. So I won't support the recommendations today. As much as I understand the need for this work to happen, I don't believe that this design is adequate, and I have to say I will be really concerned if we get anywhere close to 15 to 20 traffic lights being put up on any of these two intersections. That would just be really, really sad.
Glenn.
Thank you. I guess when it comes to the official opening of the town hall, we want the headline to be grand opening of the town hall. We don't want opening beset by parking problems. So the problem is there's a wider context here, part of which is the loss of the Crown Plaza building. I can't find the number of parks we had there or the public had access to there, but it was a multi-level building. I support cycleways. Not everyone cycles, particularly some of our residents in the community. So I'd like to see a plan that's going to cater for that, and a plan that will cater for that in time, not only for the opening, which isn't that far away, but going forward. So I will support it, but we do need a plan because we want this whole thing to go really well.
Aaron.
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying the timing is right, that the timing of getting this road finished prior to the opening of the town hall was perfect, because it would be even worse if it not only there wasn't parking, but you couldn't actually get through the roadworks to an event. But that's where my positives will stop on this one. I looked at the maps, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. The removal of on-street car parks, I remember prior to this, the inaccessible city designs, that there was a lot of on-street parking in this area. So the town hall, people used to be able to park very close to there. There was the ones Glenn mentioned next door in the building. I think that was in the vicinity of a couple of hundred, just ballpark. But there's that parking removed just around the corner in Cambridge Terrace. We had the opportunity in these designs to have at least 100 on-street car parks. They could have been perpendicular because it's just a slow through route. They're gone completely. Then there's, and I don't think we have a mandate from the public to remove this amount of on-street parking in the city. I don't recall us ever going out, and I've certainly had a lot of feedback over the amount of on-street car parks being removed. So I think we're stepping beyond our bounds when it comes to that. There's a lack of mobility car parking. I raise this all the time. There'll be one outside the town hall and two around the corner. So if you've got a concert, you've got 3 people with disabilities welcome at that event. The rest of them will have to take public transport or maybe get a taxi, but it will be not as accessible for them. And I realise that some of the distances is only 100 metres. 100 metres in the rain in a wheelchair wouldn't be that much fun. I don't know who's tried it, but it wouldn't be that enjoyable. So there's the lack of mobility parking. And then just finally, the removal of the free turn at Kilmore Street going into Durham. I've never seen a problem with that in the past. In fact, it works quite well. And if we are a council that is pushing to reduce our carbon emissions by making more people stop at an intersection and wait to turn instead of going, that increases your carbon emissions. So it affects traffic flow that way. And we should be mindful of that in all our decisions, unless you're in an electric car paying no road user charges.
Tim.
Thank you. And look, the timing is absolutely right. It has to be done before the opening of the town hall. Totally agree with that. I just am concerned with regards to putting a cycle lane in front of the town hall with regards to when there were openings of whatever sort, there was congestion and serious congestion in front of the town hall with the VIP drop-off, etc. And I mean, I'm one of the prime causes of it, I have to say, so it is very clear in my mind and fresh in my mind what used to go on there. But not only the openings of the events, but during pack-ins of all sorts, you would get different contractors of different sorts, whether they be florists or technical or whatever, using that area and parking all over the place. So I guess on a bad night, with lots of traffic, lots of pedestrians crossing roads, etc., with vehicles, and then you get cyclists as well. I just have concerns about that cycle lane going through there. I don't think it's going to be safe at times, at those key times, and I think a cycle lane should be safe all the time. I would suggest, and it's obviously probably too late, that the cycle lane should be concentrated on the other side of Kilmore Street. I don't know what's planned on the old convention centre site. I'm sure we'll be I'll be told at some stage, but at this stage I just see it's a very busy area. It's humans and cars are just a problematic situation, full stop. So I'm really concerned about that side of things, so sorry.
Mike and then Dion. Mike.
Thank you. I guess when you're trying to transform a transport network to actually cater for every user, whether they be in a car on a bike, walking, taking public transport. It takes a lot of political will. What I'm seeing actually develop from Accessible City is actually quite good once we remove the roadworks. It's the roadworks, the ongoing roadworks, that are actually causing issues. A lot of that is out of our control, as we've seen on Cambridge Terrace and Manchester Street. But once Cambridge Terrace is opened up, and it's still got a little bit more work to do down Durham Street, it's actually turned into a really accessible area. People can drive down there, people can walk down there quite well. It's actually for people. We're designing a city that's actually for people. It's not for cars just to drive round and have their way. It is a much better system. I know someone's talking about these being cycleways. They're not cycleways, they're cycle lanes. So actually, they're not the highest standard for cyclists, but it's important to realise, you know, whether you're on a bike or in a car, you have a right to be on that road. And so therefore, actually the safest option for someone on a bike is to have a cycle lane if we can't put in a cycle way. And obviously every time we come up with something in the town, we touch on parking and the removal of parking. We've all seen the stats, and so it's a little bit disappointing we keep talking about the loss of on-street parking when there's actually ample off-street parking in our city at the moment, and we know there's going to be another car parking building coming into that area. I think we need to focus on actually what is happening positively in the city, and actually look that there is enough car parks in the area. I do agree with Aaron, we need to make sure we have enough mobility car parks for people that do have problems getting to these places, but actually people that are able to walk, shouldn't be a problem actually parking a little bit further away and walking to your destination. This is a really good step forward, and I'm glad I've seen this design because I'm happy with it. Dion.
For once, I'm not actually opposed to the cycle lanes. I think they're actually a red herring in the whole thing. There's a couple of things which I personally am concerned about on this one is the left turn on to Durham Street. I think is you know, just going to slow traffic down in that area. And I know we want to probably slow traffic down, but I think there's you know, I think it's just unnecessary to do that from my perspective, from what I've also been hearing from the residents. But my main concern is actually the work that's not on this plan, and that's the Colombo Street intersection. So I mean, I know that will have to be done at some stage. So we're going to be doing all the work here, and then all of a sudden, at some stage in the future, the intersection at Colombo Street will be done for the MCR work. Is that right?
We've moved beyond questions. Yeah. We're now in debate.
It is right. So it has to be done. So I mean, it's just, I would have liked to have seen the whole stuff actually done at the same time. Is why I think I'm a bit worried about this one, because that is, you know, there's a few issues there that I have. So, but I know it has to be done at the same time. But there are, you know, echoing from what has already been said.
Pauline.
I'll just finish off because I agree with Mike. The committee was supportive of this. The mobility parking, we're really supportive of mobility parking being in really close proximity to wherever they need to be, and we have addressed that through the subcommittee. And as I said to Aaron, we're going to get 2 on the east side and 2 on the west side at the Colombo Kilmore intersection, and that's a very close walk to the town hall, and hopefully 1 more on Kilmore, all going well. But the end result is going to look really good, and it has to look good with the opening of the town hall. I know that part of the problem is the disruption, as Mike referred to, and it's hard for us sometimes to see past that. But it will be a good outcome, and we're quite happy with that. The free turn into Durham Street has to go for intersection safety. It's actually quite a complicated intersection, that one, and I think that's to do with the cycle lane going through there as well. It's not a cycle way, it's just a cycle marking on the road to keep them safe. And I don't think there's going to be a major separated cycle way at the Colombo and Kilmore intersection, so I don't anticipate huge disruption at that intersection, and that will be completed fairly soon. So yeah, on that note, as I said, I'm happy to move it.
Thank you, Pauline. So moved by Pauline, seconded Sarah? Yep. Oh, that was already moved and seconded, right? Yeah. Okay, so that was already done. That's fine. Okay, so all those in favour? Against? Okay, can we have a show of hands for those in favour and those against? So those in favour, first of all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, and those against obviously is the balance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you want that recorded? Do you want the names recorded? Do you want to? Yep. All right. So if we can note that councillors, can the people against just raise their hands again? Councillors Manji, Johansson, Scandrett, Keown, and Swiggs were against. Thank you. Let's now move on to the next item.